You know that feeling when you sit down to work and suddenly it's 3 hours later, but you've barely made progress? Here's the thing, it's probably not your fault. There are invisible time thieves operating in your daily routine, and today we're going to expose them. These aren't the obvious culprits like social media or Netflix binges. We're talking about those sneaky little habits you don't even realize are sabotaging your productivity. And the worst part, you might think some of these are actually helping you work better. Let me introduce you to what I call the 3-minute trap. It's that moment when you tell yourself, I'll just quickly check this one thing. We've all been there. You decide to take a quick peek at your email, and suddenly you're 30 minutes deep into responding to messages that could have waited. This isn't just about poor time management. It's about how our brains process task switching. You might think you're being efficient by juggling multiple small tasks, but research shows that every time you switch contexts, your brain needs about 23 minutes to fully refocus. That 3-minute check is actually costing you nearly half an hour of productive time. Your brain gets caught in what psychologists call attention residue, where part of your mind stays stuck on the previous task, even as you try to move on to something new. It's like having multiple browser tabs open in your mind, each one slowly draining your mental battery. Let's dive into the 4 most dangerous productivity killers that most people never even notice. These aren't just habits, they're sophisticated traps that your brain has normalized over time. First up is what I call the perfect moment syndrome. You know that voice in your head that says, I'll start when everything is just right. That's your brain playing tricks on you. While you're waiting for that perfect moment, hours, days, and sometimes weeks slip by. The real kicker. Studies show that starting with imperfect conditions actually leads to better results because you learn to adapt and problem solve on the fly. We often fool ourselves into thinking we need the perfect setup, the perfect mood, or the perfect time to start important tasks. This waiting game can waste hours of potentially productive time. The truth is, perfect conditions rarely exist. Every moment you spend waiting for them is a moment you could have spent making progress. Each time you postpone starting, you're not just losing time, you're losing the momentum and motivation that could have carried you through the task. Next is the over-organization loop. This one's particularly sneaky because it feels productive, but it's actually a sophisticated form of procrastination. You spend hours creating the perfect organizational system, color-coding your calendar, and categorizing your tasks, but never actually completing them. Your phone is filled with productivity apps that were supposed to save time, but now managing them has become a task in itself. You constantly switch between different productivity systems, convinced the next one will finally make you efficient. The third killer is the false urgency effect, where everything becomes a priority, which means nothing actually is. When everything is labeled as urgent, your brain loses its ability to properly prioritize tasks. It's like having an alarm that never stops ringing. Eventually, you become numb to it. You spend your day putting out fires instead of working on what truly matters. It's the difference between being busy and being productive. This constant state of urgency creates stress and actually reduces your ability to make good decisions about what deserves your immediate attention. Finally, we have the digital hoarding habit. In an age of unlimited storage, we've become information pack rats. Those 47 open browser tabs aren't helping you work. They're creating mental clutter that makes it harder to focus on what's important. Your brain gets overwhelmed trying to process and remember all this stored information, leading to decision fatigue. The fear of missing out on potentially useful information actually prevents you from effectively using the information you already have. But here's where it gets really interesting. Let's talk about what I call the notification cascade, a phenomenon that's literally rewiring how our brains work. Research shows that the average person loses up to 2 hours of deep work time each day, just from notification interruptions. But it's not just about the time spent checking them, it's about the broken focus patterns they create. Each notification fractures your attention span a little more. Every notification triggers a tiny dopamine hit in your brain. Over time, your brain starts craving these interruptions, making it harder to focus, even when notifications are turned off. It's like training your brain to expect and want interruptions. One notification rarely comes alone. A single email check often leads to opening other apps, responding to messages, or falling down rabbit holes of related tasks. This cascade effect can turn a 5-second notification check into a 20-minute detour. There's actually a hidden cost to each interruption, what I call the focus tax. For every notification you receive, you're paying with approximately 23 minutes of refocusing time. Multiply that by the average 64 notifications people receive per day, and you'll understand why you feel mentally exhausted, despite not completing much work. Let's put this into perspective and see exactly how much time these habits are costing you versus what you could be saving with a more strategic approach. On the left, we have the common habits most of us fall into, and on the right, the optimized alternatives that could transform your productivity. When you check emails every 10 minutes, you're actually spending up to 3 hours per day just on email management and recovery time. That's nearly half your workday. By limiting email checks to 3 scheduled blocks per day, you can save up to 2 hours of productive time while still maintaining timely responses. Those 15-plus browser tabs you keep open just in case are eating up your computer's resources and your brain's RAM, leading to mental fatigue and reduced decision-making ability. Implementing focused work sessions with just relevant tabs open can increase your task completion rate by up to 50%, while reducing mental fatigue. Responding to messages immediately might make you feel productive, but it creates an expectation of constant availability and breaks your focus up to 80 times per day. Batching your communications into designated time slots can save you up to 1.5 hours daily, while actually improving your response quality. Research shows that constant task switching can reduce your productive output by up to 40%. It's like trying to drive with one foot on the gas and one on the brake. Protecting 2 to 3 hours of deep work, time can produce the same output as 8 hours of fragmented work. That's like getting an extra day back in your week. But here's what nobody talks about. The true cost of these productivity killers goes far beyond just wasted time. Every time you switch tasks or respond to an interruption, you're depleting your mental energy reserves. Think of it like your phone battery. Each context switch is like running multiple apps in the background. By mid-afternoon, you're running on empty, even though you might not have accomplished your most important work. These habits aren't just affecting your daily output, they're impacting your career trajectory. When you're constantly reactive rather than proactive, you miss opportunities for strategic thinking and innovation. This could be the difference between staying stuck in your current position and landing that promotion you've been eyeing. The stress of constant interruptions and the feeling of never getting enough done follows you home. It affects your sleep, your relationships, and your ability to truly disconnect. You might be physically present with your family, but mentally, you're still caught in that loop of unfinished tasks. Here's the most painful cost: the opportunities you never even see because you're too caught up in the daily whirlwind. That side project that could have become a business, that skill you wanted to learn, that book you wanted to write, they all remain in the realm of someday because these silent productivity killers are stealing your most valuable resource, your attention. Now here's a game-changing principle that will help you break free from these productivity traps. I call it the 2-minute rule, but with a crucial twist that most people miss. This might seem to contradict what we discussed about constant task switching, but here's the key distinction. This rule only applies to truly quick, standalone tasks that don't lead to other commitments. It's about eliminating decision fatigue, not inviting interruptions. Think of it as clearing the path for your bigger, more important work. The beauty of this approach is that it prevents small tasks from piling up and becoming overwhelming later. Let's build what I call your productivity shield, a practical defense system against these silent time thieves. This isn't just another set of tips, it's a complete framework designed to protect your most valuable resource, your focused attention. First up is the Focus Fortress protocol. Start by creating dedicated focus blocks in your day. Think of them like meetings with yourself that are absolutely non-negotiable. Set up your environment for success. Phone on, DND, notifications paused, and a clear signal to others that you're in deep work mode. The key is to treat these blocks with the same respect you'd give to a meeting with your most important client. Next, implement the strategic batching system. Instead of handling tasks as they come, group similar activities together. For example, designate specific times for email, phone calls, and administrative work. This isn't just about organization, it's about leveraging your brain's natural tendency to maintain momentum when working on similar tasks. You'll be amazed at how much faster you can process 20 emails in one sitting compared to handling them sporadically throughout the day. The energy management framework is about aligning your most important work with your peak energy levels. Map out your natural energy patterns for a week. When do you feel most alert? That's your golden hour. Reserve it for your most challenging and important tasks. Stop fighting your natural rhythms and start working with them. This isn't just about productivity, it's about working smarter, not harder. Finally, the recovery rhythm method ensures you maintain high performance over the long term. Build in regular breaks using the 52-17 rule. 52 minutes of focused work followed by 17 minutes of true disconnection. This isn't arbitrary. Research shows this rhythm matches our brain's natural attention cycles. During those 17 minutes, step away from screens, move your body, or practice quick meditation. Think of these breaks not as time wasted, but as recharging sessions that make your focus time more powerful. Now, let's talk about how to actually implement these changes without feeling overwhelmed or falling back into old patterns. Here's the key that most productivity advice misses. You don't have to implement everything at once. In fact, you shouldn't. Pick just one element of your productivity shield to focus on this week. Maybe it's creating your focus fortress for just 1 hour each day. Master that single change before adding another. Remember, we're building habits that last, not temporary fixes. Use what I call the progress pulse check. Take 2 minutes at the end of each day to note what worked and what needs adjusting. Did you maintain your focus blocks successfully? What interrupted you? This isn't about judgment. It's about gathering data to refine your approach. Small wins compound into massive changes over time. Share your productivity goals with one person who can keep you accountable, preferably someone who's also working on their productivity. When you explain to others why you're not immediately responding to messages during your focus blocks, they're more likely to respect your boundaries. Plus, verbalizing your commitment makes it more real. Create environmental triggers that make your new habits easier to maintain. This could be as simple as a specific desk setup that signals deep work mode, or a routine that transitions you into focused work. Your environment should work for you, not against you. Think of it like setting up guardrails that naturally guide you toward better habits. Before you click away from this video, I want you to take one specific action right now. Not tomorrow, not later, right now. Pull out your calendar and block out your first focus fortress for tomorrow. Just 1 hour to start. And here's what's going to make this different from every other productivity video you've watched. Drop a comment below with the specific time you've blocked out. This isn't just about accountability. It's about joining a community of people who are all working to reclaim their time and attention. If this video helped you identify your own silent productivity killers, give it a like and share it with someone who needs to hear this. Remember, productivity isn't about doing more, it's about making space for what truly matters. Subscribe for more practical strategies on building a life of focused achievement, and I'll see you in the next video where we'll dive into advanced techniques for maintaining these habits long term.